All meeting videos are also posted on the Millis Public Schools website under School Committee and are also available on YouTube. All school committee meeting minutes and agendas can be found on the school committee page of the Millis Public Schools website. Persons wishing to speak during open session must sign in before the meeting starts. Comments are not to exceed 3 minutes in time. Individuals may not name names of staff, students, or parents. All topics for discussion must be limited to those on this meeting's agenda. Is anybody signed in for open session?
There's none.
Okay, there's nobody, so we're gonna move on from open session. We don't have any student or teacher reps today, so we're gonna move into our action items. So our first one is to approve our meeting minutes from the 7th.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Ganashari.
I make a motion to approve the January 7th, 2025
Oh, yeah, she's
meeting
25.
minutes.
Great.
Second.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Consideration to approve a 3-year lease for touchscreen panels. Do you want to chat about
Maybe,
that?
yeah, maybe Mr. Wiggin, it's the Mr. Wiggin show this evening, so
Okay.
we'll get him to his post
Get
early.
comfortable.
Okay. Let's start it up there.
And there's a memo in the packet from Ryan Cameri, our technology director, looking to upgrade the classroom technology with touchscreen panels. He's looking to do it in a phased-in approach, and through his allocation of his capital technology budget, it's anticipated that he will be able to do that certainly this year and hopefully in subsequent years. So I don't know if Mr. Wiggin has anything to add. Oh, I would just say also that it's basically replacing the projector systems we have that are starting to come to the end of their useful life, so we're kind of phasing that
Yeah,
in.
that would be the one thing I would have added. You did a nice job summarizing. The two things I would add is just that. One is replacing the technology, which seems like it was relatively recent that we put it in, but technology changes fast. And we've piloted this in a couple of different classrooms with great success. There's a lot of teachers that are very anxious to move in this direction, and we have this opportunity to do this, and we have the current funding to do this in the budget. That is one thing. The other thing I would say, just to clarify, is we were very careful and went to our legal counsel before we proposed this to you, and the legal counsel was very clear that the school committee can lease up to 3 years. Doesn't need to go to town meeting. Anything over 3 years would need to go to town meeting. But you have the authority to do that up to 3 years, so that's why we're bringing that to you tonight.
The buses are 5-year leases? and that's what
Buses are 5-year leases, and they're over $100,000, and I think that's the second caveat that comes into play. Is typically speaking something over $100,000, regardless of the years involved, would have to go to town meeting.
So the projectors they're replacing are at end of life.
Right, at or nearing.
At or
And
near.
some of the components, like the bulbs, are very expensive to
Right.
replace, and we're
A
starting to have to
bulb on
replace
its own
those.
is approximately $400. So,
And because it's under 100,000, it's where's this thing? So it'll be like 25,000 a year.
basically,
Okay.
be in the vicinity of what the Apple lease used to be.
Okay, similar to that. Just got it. Any other questions? Take a motion.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Gibbons.
I make a motion to approve a 3-year lease for touchscreen panels for a total cost of $68,600.
Second.
Seconded. I was just wondering, I didn't examine remember the thing very clearly. Do we like get a buyout at the end of the 3 years?
Is it, yeah, it's a $1 buyout.
$1 buyout, just like the buses. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right. Consideration to appoint a school committee representative for the Cable Advisory Committee.
Yeah.
Maybe we can learn about what
Yeah,
that is.
I contacted Madeline Usner, who's the director of the town cable, you know, asking her about meetings and things like that. And Madeline said that the advisory group generally only meets when they're redoing a contract with one of the providers, or if there are serious problems with either Verizon or Comcast. So there are no meetings currently scheduled, but it's a member of the committee would be on the board in the event of a serious issue or when the time for a new contract comes in. And I don't have the information on when the next contract comes in.
So they just potentially may need someone on our committee to go to a
Kind of be
meeting.
the liaison for the school committee, yeah.
So I had, I don't know if Sue shared it with everybody, pull up when I first joined, there was a list of all the committees that we were kind of divided up onto. I had her pull that up and send it to me, so I'll share that with you guys about some of the other committees that there are, so that we're not like, what is this, all of a sudden? And this is an old list, so we should definitely update it. Denise, it looks like you're on it, but I'll share it with you. Denise and Sheena. And Sean. And Mark, I think, sorry, on it. And you're already on it too there, Bob.
Yeah.
So I'll just share that with you guys. You can see some of the old ones. We can make a new sheet and sort of divvy up the different committees. We had talked about that. Kind of last time, which committees some of us might hop off of and hop back on. So this is an old one, so we can make a copy of it and go from there. But would anybody like to be the representative to the cable?
I can do it.
We're gonna appoint you. We need to make a motion and officially appoint her that way?
I
Or
think.
can we just say?
Right, I think you make,
Shayna?
I think we put Shayna forward and then she's approved by the select board. Is that how it goes?
No, but I don't know if we have to for,
Yeah, I
Like-
think, because it's technically a town committee. I think you folks.
Right, yeah, the select board makes the official
Yeah.
appointment. So
Okay.
so you have a recommendation for appointment, and then, that person would be officially appointed by the select board.
Okay, so then we'll email them saying we've recommended.
Right, we can send them minutes saying, you know, the school committee recommended Gina Canestraro, cable advisory.
We all recommend Shayna for this. Do we need to really make an official motion and vote? Do you think, or
You could say it's by consensus.
by consensus? We all say that Shayna has graciously volunteered and thank her for doing so, and we all, it's a great job. Okay, we'll look over that committee list later and just kind of go through some of, I don't even know if some of the committees are still there doing some of the things, so we could probably, like the Munis conversion committee, is that, I don't know if that's still a committee. Things like that.
There are no converts.
yeah, right.
So some of these we could
There are
probably,
heretics, there are no converts.
some of these we could probably you look at and see what we need to update, so we can do that and then circle back to this at the next meeting. Okay, moving along, we have our proposal for pre-K, kindergarten, extended day, transportation and athletic fees. It's a lot of fees.
Yes, and probably the best way to walk through it is the memo.
Okay,
So if you recall what we promised a couple of years ago, or a year ago anyways, is that either in December or early January, we would present you with fees. If we were going to change them, or even if we were going to keep them the same, we were going to let you know what what our thinking was.
Yeah.
And so I've tried to walk through the 5 major fees that we have.
Perfect. Also to give people time to prepare
Exactly,
for. and plan
exactly. We
for
wanted to let the public
increased
know.
fees, if
Right.
that's something that we need.
Right, we wanted to let the public know, so. So to start with, I kind of walked it up from the bottom in a sense. We start with the preschool revolving, or the preschool fees.
Okay.
And generally speaking, and Clyde Brown worked on these quite a bit, and Jane Leota deserves a lot of credit for this and for kindergarten revolving for the work she did. The 4-day fees really are in line with what they ought to be, and they're not really generating any issues. The 5-day program, however, does appear to be out of line with our fee structure. It also seems to be out of line with the surrounding preschools, surrounding daycare centers. And I know people don't like us to talk about it, but I mean, frankly, when children are in preschool, they are in daycare as well. It's a twofer for parents. So we currently charge $2,600 a month. When we looked at it on a per-day basis,
$2,600 a year.
$26 a year, excuse me. I didn't change it in this memo either. I'm gonna change this. Thank you.
I think we have a PDF, so we don't see the changes.
Yep. No, but I better change it because I'm just saying the wrong things. $2,600 per year. And when we looked at it on a per-day basis, we felt that adjusting it to $3,100 per year, okay, was more in line and more consistent with the 4-day program. And so that's what we're recommending for you with the preschool program. And I need to say that like 5 times and turn around fast. $3,100 per year. And again, I'm correcting my own memo as we speak here, just to make sure I get this in my head properly. So that's our recommend there. It would basically go from, I think it goes to around $17.91.
$17.61.
$17.61
Yeah, a day.
Okay.
a day
Yeah.
versus
And the 4-day
$17.91
cost
for
per
the
day
4
is
yeah, $17.91 for 4-day,
for
the
4
5-day,
days a week.
4-day program rather. The account's in good shape. The account will continue to be solid, and it does obviously impact the budget in a positive sense because we do pay for teachers and paras out of this fund. So I want to stop there. Are there any questions there?
Madam Chair,
Let's
I
get
think maybe if I did my math right, it's roughly like $40 more a month-ish.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that's about
So
right.
just for the relative increase per month,
That much I do recall.
it's around $40. So.
Yeah. Yep. Any other questions?
So we're just talking about increasing the 5-day morning
Just the 5-day.
program.
Yeah, just the 5-day program.
There's no PM program?
There's no PM program.
Okay.
Of
Just the
5-day.
5-day morning, AM.
Just the morning, just the AM 5-day program.
Got it.
Moving on to the kindergarten revolving. The kindergarten revolving really is in good shape. We're not proposing any increase here. Now, part of the reason we're not proposing any increase is because the revolving fund is in good shape. Part of it is because, frankly, there's an aspirational goal this committee has had for some time that it would prefer not to charge any fee at all. So it's kind of hard to come and say we want to increase fees when you want to try to not charge them. Having said that, quite frankly, with the budget difficulties that we have and will continue to have, we just simply can't go to an unpaid full-day kindergarten. It just won't work. So the best we can do is to say we're not going to increase them. So there's no increase being proposed for kindergarten revolving.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Is it something that we need to increase, though? I don't want to raise prices unnecessarily, but if,
I don't I don't believe so. I don't believe so this year.
Okay.
I would say that it may be a resort, depending on when we get into budget discussions. But at this moment in time in January, I'm not recommending it. I think part of it is because when you get into the budget, and when you folks see the budget and you talk about it a little bit more, the type of increase that you would get and the type of impact it will have on what you're trying to balance simply isn't that significant unless you were to do something, I would say, dramatic. And to take it all out on one fund, and particularly on the kindergarten fund, I just don't think is this is personal opinion, obviously. I just don't think is right. And I certainly don't think it's consistent, again, with the aspirations that this committee has had since I've been here, certainly, and I think probably before I've been here. At the moment, I would say no.
And the
Now,
current revolving account is in good shape.
the current revolving
not
fund is in good
overrated.
shape. We don't have any problems. We really, all of our revolving funds are back to, I guess I would say, where they ought to be. A couple of years ago, obviously, we had to do some draconian things to bring them back into shape. But they're all in pretty good shape, save one, which I'll talk about at the end. So we can hold that in reserve, I suppose, but even then, I don't think this is a place I'd recommend going
Okay.
to balance the budget. Athletic revolving is another fund that is in very good shape. It's been very well managed by the athletic director. Currently, it's got a fund balance of over $100,000. Now, I do think that would allow us to perhaps use this fund, and in fact, we're using part of this fund to deal with some of the issues we face in the FY26 budget. It also may allow us to deal with a long-term problem, which we'll maybe talk about in the future, and that is, and Bob got to help me out, what was that bus called?
The TP Cruiser.
Yeah.
I don't know. Denise might be the only one that remembers the big purple.
Oh, yeah, is it still parked?
It's still oh no, I think the fire department
department,
had
I
it,
think,
and
is
they-
finally
you had
taking it.
Jaws of Life practice.
They're
on
going to
it.
use it for
okay.
Jaws of Life,
Okay.
But
life
it was
practice.
used for, to take kids to athletic events, because it's not a school bus.
It's not, right,
But
and
it was
it
something
doesn't require a CDL driver to go portal to portal. So coaches can take some of the smaller teams to athletic events because they're picking them up in this parking lot and dropping them off in the parking lot of the school they're going to. Lots of schools have them. We see them come here all the time from other schools. We've actually looked into replacement of that vehicle. Quite honestly, we can probably get a 3-year lease for one, and the leasing will not be a whole lot different from the lease you just approved tonight. Maybe a smidgen higher, but not much. And the athletic revolving fund could easily support that. And while people may ask, if they're watching this and say, well, why would they buy a bus if they're having budget problems? The fact of the matter is that having a bus like that actually eases pressure on the transportation department. And that's the reason, because it's an important part of our overall transportation operation and program. But again, we'll talk about that in a future meeting. Any questions on athletics? Extended day. Now, extended day has recovered nicely, and it's doing nicely. But it is a labor-intensive program. So there are people that we need to think about giving raises to each day. And so I've proposed essentially a 3% increase in each of the 3 programs: the preschool wrap program, the before-school program, and the after-school program. Those are modest increases, and they're designed to do 2 things. Is one, to obviously keep that balance sustainable, and 2, so that at a later time we can look at proposed increases for the ensuing year for the workers in that program. Any questions on extended day? Finally, there's transportation. Transportation, when I first came here, we actually bought a van out of this. And it used to be able to sustain the transportation coordinator, 50% of the transportation coordinator salary and other salaries. And we bought that van. It has been tough sledding through and post-COVID. It's really never recovered from the COVID years. And we've done a couple of things in a couple of years, but what happens is you'll see that currently it's in deficit over $31,000. Now, that's a little disingenuous in the sense of what happens is that in May and June, we will get the vast majority of our deposits for next year. So we will come out of deficit. But the problem with that is you're taking money from next year to pay off this year. And that's really not the way it should work. Somehow or other we've got to get it back at the place where it's 1 year is balancing itself. And so right now, one of the tribulations that the budget is looking at is that I'm trying to minimize the amount that the budget is taking a hit from transportation, or that this fund is taking a hit from transportation on, which means the budget is taking more of a hit, which is a problem to be faced. To that end, what I've really recommended, and I don't think I can really go much farther, is to have a 5% increase. Now, if you look at the information we gave you, we're low compared to most other districts. I think there was 4 or 5 that were lower than us. And there are a few that don't charge, of course. But, I mean, of the 46 or whatever number it was that we got in that survey, we're on the low side. So I don't feel like we're at 310, we're out of whack, and I don't think of a 5% increase on that 310 is going to throw us out of whack either, particularly because I know many of those districts are contemplating increases. Do I want to increase fees on anybody for something that they need? No, I don't. Do I need to have a sustainable transportation revolving fund? Yeah, I do, because I can't keep having, I can't have these things hit the budget.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
I mean, we just lost 15 staff people. The year before, we lost 7. I just can't have something else
Yeah.
hitting the budget. That's has nothing to do with curriculum instruction and assessment. I just can't do it.
Yeah. All right, so wait, sorry, I'm confused. You said that the bus fee is only gonna bring $5,000. I'll read that again. Like the increase is such that it will only, zoom in here, would just net $4,493.50.
Yeah, it doesn't, see, that's the thing, it doesn't net much,
Yeah.
because part of that is usage.
Well, but it's not gonna pay for the coordinator.
This is where it gets tricky with any fee.
Yeah.
No, it's not gonna, well, that's why I'm trying to build the fund back up.
Yeah,
But
okay.
it gets tricky,
Yeah.
because with something that's, like, in this case, ridership is what's gonna determine this.
Sure.
But ridership has declined. Unlike extended day, where the kids came back,
Yeah.
okay? Ridership really hasn't come back the way it was pre-COVID.
But it's certainly trending.
It's trending.
Yeah.
It's improving,
Yeah.
but it's a lot slower of a return.
Sure, more people are still working from home and can drive their kids.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think that's one of the things that we wrestle with, and you know, it's sort of a catch-22. We could leave it alone,
Mhm.
but if we leave it alone, I can't, you know, I'm in a quandary here.
Yep, yep. Okay, I've got an idea. Hear me out.
No, that's fine,
Could be crazy.
that's fine.
What if we had like monthly bus passes or weekly bus passes that like kids that don't always need the bus, but like I know this screws up like the routes and things like that, but sometimes you might just need a ride home after school, but they didn't sign up for the bus kind of thing.
Well, actually, I'd have to talk with Sandy about this, so.
Yes.
So
You don't have to
hypothetically speaking.
answer any questions right now. I'm just wondering, like, how could we potentially get other people to say, like, instead of commit this almost $700 or $600 for the year, like maybe it's a little bit at a time, or like, you know, like when you take the train or whatever.
Yeah, I think the challenge is,
Yes.
one of the challenges
a lot,
is
yes.
that when a kid is signed up for the bus, that's their seat.
Right.
Like they take up that seat, whether they take the bus or not, and you can't give that seat to someone, sell that seat to someone else.
Right, right.
Because that might be the day the kid decides or needs to go home.
Yeah,
You got two
yeah.
kids, one seat.
But like the late bus, right? Like that comes around, like that goes to like everyone's house,
Right.
and
Right.
it takes whoever's on it. And I know it's like not assigned seats or whatever, but like I don't know how that works when
Yeah.
you what if you had like 75 kids that took the late bus? So it would be like a similar thing. I don't know. I'm just thinking
Yeah.
outside the box.
I think the thing with the late bus is it's like when the kids get home isn't the same as when the kids come. They have to be here at a certain time in the morning.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, just
A little more.
Just to expand on what the superintendent is saying is that we run a two-tier system.
Yeah.
And at the elementary level, I would say something like that would be,
Yeah, I think
Near
I was thinking
impossible.
more at the high school and
yeah.
middle school.
At the high school, we'd have to examine routes because there's more, for lack of a better term, unsold space in many routes, but not all routes.
Okay.
So that's where it gets tricky. But it's an idea worth examining. I mean, any idea is worth examining.
Just a thought. You don't have to do it.
Well, no, I think it's a good idea. I mean, again, we're open to anything to try and make this work, so.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Gibbons.
So I do support what Mr. Wigan is saying around how the budget can't continue to be impacted by these other offerings that we have, especially in light of where we are from a fiscal perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at all of these increases as sort of like healthy bookkeeping, right, to have the revolving funds in good shape, but also B, as a byproduct of the override failing.
Yep, for sure.
So we don't have money in the budget that maybe we've used in the past to cover some of these deficits, and we don't have money in the budget, so we can't cover it, and it has to be paid for. It's a service that the district's providing, and as Mr. Wigan said, it's not as if these fees are going to cover all of the deficits.
Right.
It's only a path to get us closer to neutral. So I'm in support of all of the recommendations across the board on all the increases.
Okay. Any other thoughts or good?
Nope.
I can take a motion. Terry outlined the motion on the.
Madam
memo.
Chair.
Ms. Gibbons.
Yes. Okay, so I think there's 3 different motions.
Mhm.
I'll do one at a time.
Sure.
I make a motion that the school committee increase the 5-day morning preschool fee to $3,100 a year for the 2025-2026 school year.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Gibbons.
I make a motion that the school committee increase the extended day preschool wrap, before school program, and after school program fees for the 2025-2026 school year to the fees as shown in the schedule provided by the Director of School Finance.
Second.
So it's a 3% increase across the board for those 3 programs for this coming year. Just to clarify. Okay, any other thoughts? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Madam Chair?
Ms. Gibbons?
I make a motion that the school committee increase the transportation fees for the 2025-2026 school year as shown in the schedule provided by the Director of School Finance, which is a 5% increase for the 2025-2026 school year.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for
Mr.
doing all
Wigan.
that work,
Terry.
Terry. And thank Jane for doing all that work, I should say.
Absolutely. You've got to thank Jane for that work. Clyde Brown.
Okay. We're moving on to the capital improvement projects that we're gonna. Folks, don't don't go away, Terry. Don't go away.
Just when you thought you were done.
No.
I have a fresh pineapple at home. What was I thinking? You
Okay.
have
In our packets, we have
3 projects. And let me see if I can get to them. One of them is an oldie but goodie. We're proposing again a van, this time just one. And we're probably in the next couple of years going to try to be kind of aggressive on van replacement. We may not always get them, but we have an old fleet of vans. And we've gotten to the point of where our big bus fleets are actually in good shape. If we keep up the schedule of replacement, we should be fine. We no longer have any 20-year-old buses, which is good. Now it's time to turn our attention to the vans. And so we're proposing another, and again, it will be a hybrid that we're proposing. The price came in a little bit less than what the warrant article was, so this price is a little bit lower than what we proposed last time around. And so we're hoping that that will help us. And then the 2 other things we're proposing, and they have placeholder numbers, is one, and it's in part because we had, I think we've had more than one complaint, but I know of at least one, is to repave the road out here. Okay? And we may have to extend it a little bit longer than what we originally thought. But we have some preliminary numbers on this. I put a placeholder in of $25,000. It'll actually probably come in a little bit less than that. We had some people out today to take a look. The other, which I also put a placeholder in for $25,000, maybe will come in right around that, maybe even a little bit more, is down by the tennis courts. And the concept of the tennis courts is a little different. What I'd ideally like to see, but I'm not a road engineer, so I'll leave that to somebody else, is I'd like to see on one side, probably on the tennis court side, a sidewalk. Because we have pedestrians walking their dogs and, all the time. But they're doing it in the middle of the road. It's just not safe. So I'd like to give them a safe place to walk. On the other side, I'd like defined parking. Because obviously a lot of people park there, and we understand that, and we understand why. And then obviously the moon craters could perhaps be, professionally, filled in and paved over, and that could be done better. So that's the other item that we've put in there. Neither of those are, technically speaking, town roads, which is why we're proposing them.
If the tennis court, half the tennis courts are town courts, right?
Yes.
How can the roads not be like,
Don't ask me. I have no idea.
So when we did, I don't remember all the details of
Has to do with the land swap.
actual, but when we built the Clyde Brown, there was a land swap that we did with the town.
Yeah.
And that drew the lines around who owns what. So we apparently still own that parcel over there.
I actually think it may be split ownership. Because I'd have to go over there, but isn't there a tennis court up on this end and pickleball court on that end?
There is tennis court closest to the building,
Yeah.
pickleball court
Yeah, so I
closest to-
think in a sense, it may be split ownership of that road. So, but we're really just trying to put the issue out there.
Right. And it's town fund, it's the town.
Yeah, it's just gonna be town funds either way,
capital
Okay.
funds.
but it's,
But still, it would be nice to have it come from DPW versus the school portion, no? Some of it?
well, we have raised the issue in the past. The DPW has indicated, and I don't believe this is disingenuous, that they have limited funds and they have a lot of streets to pave. And I mean, there's a lot of people out there who would probably say, why are you paving this little strip next to a tennis court that nobody lives on versus, my street, which I live on? I understand that. I completely understand that. Everybody has got their own demands for street improvements. Perfectly understandable. So I think, this is sort of our home. So in that sense, I think it's appropriate for us to kind of put it forward and at least put it on the radar screen. Again, whether we get it or not remains to be seen.
Madam Chair,
Skimmons.
the question I have is, if we are fortunate enough to go forward with the project for this building, that will be, like, paving is part of what's in, so there's minimal, so there's always site work, but the paving is a piece that's in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it would hit next to the tennis courts, but I do think it would hit here.
So what would happen is if indeed you got the building project, the warrant article would become moot, and the town would basically vote to say this warrant article is no longer needed, and the money would become free cash.
Okay. Because I think we'll get asked that question by capital planning, which is,
Yeah.
you guys are gonna go forward, it's like, we're gonna put this to the
But,
town.
but there have been
So-
other warrant articles, both for the school and the town. Like, for a good example would be, we had put forward a warrant article for this library to
Oh,
redo the
mhm.
carpeting.
Yep.
We had priced it for carpet squares. Carpet squares are more expensive. The logic is the carpet squares, the ease of carpet squares, if you get a stain here, you pick it up and put it in a new carpet square. For a variety of reasons, we went with what you see here. That was much less money, and so the remainder of that was basically voted back to the town.
Yeah, I think as long as we just have our answer, which
Yep.
is,
Right.
if we get the building project, then we're not gonna go forward with at least this one, because that'll get covered in the
Right.
building project.
I would say that out there, it's bad at the
Yeah.
crosswalk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And John Engler's been working with the DPW to try and get their hot box over here to at least mitigate what's happening now. Tough thing is the weather
Right.
is not conducive to it, but they've been working on that to get at least a temporary fix, because there are large potholes out there, and the surface of the road is not in good shape.
So those are the three that we're putting forward. I think technically, we'd like you to endorse those.
Okay, do you need us to make a motion for that?
I think if you just made a motion to endorse the capital projects as presented.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to endorse the capital improvement projects as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Anything else?
I
Going
don't know, do you
once?
have anything else to
Going
tell
once,
us?
going twice?
What else do you have?
Doesn't look like we have any time in learning.
No, I yielded my time to Mr. Wigan.
Okay. We have a MSBA update, the school building project update.
So,
There's a meeting tomorrow.
yeah, school building committee meeting tomorrow. You know, at the last school building committee meeting, and I don't think we didn't have a quorum. So we'll relate to a quorum of the committee, what we shared on December 10th here at school committee with our, you know, what the school administration's preferred option is. So they'll be looking at that. And then early February, looking at a,
A
Of
vote.
the meeting of school committee, select board, school building committee, of course, that option for submission to the MSBA. And the only other thing, I don't know if you saw it or not, Bob, because it came in really late, but the MSBA voted today to increase the reimbursement per square foot on building projects.
That's great.
Which helps.
$40 a square foot, I think.
$40 a square foot.
As
which is,
opposed to what was it before?
well, they increased it by $40 a square
Oh.
foot, so. I don't know off the top of my head, but that's a pretty significant
Yeah.
increase.
Yeah.
And they just increased it a couple of years ago too, so this is another one on top of that. So
That's great.
they're reacting to the increased construction costs that every town is seeing when they go
Yeah.
through these projects.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard the project management firm mention that any of this was even
Right,
today.
in the works, yeah.
This,
This
like,
is
was
like
sort
fell
of
on
a
our
happy
lap.
surprise.
Yeah. That's
So,
great.
at tomorrow night's meeting, they're gonna talk about it in some more detail, but that was good news.
Great. Awesome. And anything else?
But I just, for the superintendent report, just
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a quick update. You may
Yeah.
recall at the last meeting, I spoke a little bit about the competency determination.
Oh, yeah.
We had a meeting of superintendents today to discuss how area districts are looking at that. And there was also, at the end of last week in her State of the Commonwealth address, Governor Healy announced that she was forming a task force to look at graduation requirements. So, you know, the task force won't have something for the competency determination for this year and probably not next year. So I will be bringing a proposal to the committee, and most likely it's going to be along the lines of, you know, we have to certify coursework that addresses the standards of the 2023 MCAS. So basically, it's probably going to look something like these particular classes you have to pass. You know, English 1 and English 2, your freshman, sophomore English, algebra, geometry, and then a lab science, biology, chemistry, or physics. And those kind of come under the umbrella of graduation requirements anyway, but they're not specifically named. So we'll specifically name the ones that address the 2023 MCAS standards and state frameworks. So I'll be bringing that to you. And the current school committee policy in the policy book mentions the MCAS, passing the MCAS as a standard. We'll have to remove that. And then just understand that in a couple of years, we may be doing this again because the task force will come out with something. And then the only other thing I had was some correspondence. The Tech Collaborative sent out their annual report in hard copy. And in the packet, I shared the annual report from Accept, the other collaborative we belong to, along with their financial statement for FY24 and the management letter from Accept.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. Anything else?
I think that's all I have.
We're going to have executive session? Or no?
For contract
For
negotiations.
contract, yes. So we are, that's it, that's all we got. So we're going to move into executive session to talk about collective bargaining. We have 2 units this spring that we're working with. So
Madam
take a
Chair.
motion. Yeah, Ms. Gibbons.
I make a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss collective bargaining units A and C, not to return to open session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This is a roll call vote. Ms. Gibbons?
Aye.
I am aye. Ms. Janissari?
Aye.
Mr. Powers?
Aye, aye.
All right. Our next meeting is February 4th. We will see you then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.